one and all, to Real Debates. Here we let two huge movie fans battle out for bragging rights supremacy. I'm your host, Walter Benaziac. Let's go ahead and introduce our debaters for today's show. Sitting to my left, he's a filmmaker and author. This is his second time on the show, and he's looking for his first win. He is also from the Kentucky Chantry.
Not true.
Mr. David Pedersen.
I am from Illinois, sir.
Are you ready to debate, Dave?
Not at all.
Okay, that's fun. This is going to be great. And sitting to my right, he is an actor and comic book enthusiast. You can catch him in the upcoming web series, The Infinity Trinity. He's the brother I never had, Mr. Paul Wartak. This is Paul's first time on the show. Are you feeling confident today?
Oh, most definitely.
Oh, excellent. This is going to be fun. Okay, guys, well, it's almost time to get down to the debating. But first, let's go over the rules. We have 4 topic discussion rounds that these two have prepared for. For every round, we will hear a 1-minute opening argument from each debater. After both debaters have presented their opening arguments, they will go back and forth on why their point of view is better on the subject. At the end of every round, I will award 3 points to the person who I believe presented the best argument. After those 4 rounds are complete, we move on to the lightning round, where the debaters will be asked a series of movie trivia questions. Those trivia questions are worth 1 point each. The debater with the most points at the end of the game wins. Everybody clear on the rules?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Then, let's debate. For real.
That's what they put a sound effect in.
No, that was live. I don't know what you're talking about. My eye actually does that. Okay, here we go with our In the News round. This round features current film-related news topics. The James Bond movie Spectre recently added a few new cast members, and the trailer just looks awesome for this as a follow-up to Skyfall. If you guys can bring back one villain from any Bond movie for Daniel Craig's 007 to face off against, who would it be and why? Let's go with Paul first. Go ahead, Paul.
Okay. It's a little too recent, but I would definitely say Silva. He stood out as a villain to me. He was basically the original Bond. He was M's, first project, and it went wrong. He was disavowed. He was tortured. I mean, just all these horrible things happened to him, and he wants revenge. He has a reason to be doing what he's doing. It's not just, I want to destroy the world. I want to blow this up. I want to steal this. He has a reason for what he's doing, and he sets out to destroy M and MI6 and everything they stand for. I respect that. There's a purpose to this character, unlike a lot of the other characters they've had.
Sure. Okay. Dave?
I'm going to go with Odd Job because it was the person I always chose for 007 on Nintendo 64. Because he was harder to shoot because he was smaller. That's my purpose.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think that there was enough story back behind. He was just kind of appeared. You don't know really much about him. He's got awesome hats, and I think
He's got awesome hats.
he's got good hats. I think what we're seeing in the direction of superhero films or spy films or whatever is they're trying to go for more realism, and I say you go backwards. I'm tired of everything trying to be darker or grittier or whatever. Where are the Odd Jobs? Where are the Jawses in the new spy films? And I think, go back to a guy who throws a hat, but give him more of a story this time.
Right. Okay. So those are 2 pretty polar opposite choices, as we can all assume here. So, Paul, tell me why Silva would be better to take on Daniel Craig's 007 again, better than Odd Job.
Okay. Actually, Odd Job was the first character that came to my head, but I thought he had no real story, and I thought there could be something there. My big thing with Silva is there's so much more that they could do with Silva. They can go back in his story and see how he was brought up to be basically 007. I mean, not actually 007, but that same type of character.
Right.
And then he got to do a lot in the movie, but I just feel like there was so much more to his story, so much more he could have done, and just they never got to really flush out the entire character. He never got to have his big moment. It was a lot of mediocre-sized moments, but never a big moment.
Okay. Dave, same question. Why is Odd Job a better fit? And how would he take on the Daniel Craig, James Bond?
First of all, Silva doesn't have a Nintendo 64 character. If that's playing. Let's start there. Let's end there. Because I never saw Skyfall, so I have no idea.
Well, have you seen a Daniel Craig James Bond movie? One of those? You've never seen a Daniel Craig?
No.
Well, do you know anything about the Daniel Craig James Bond?
He's not James Bond. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you don't think so, but why do you
What?
think? And he's more realistic. He's more
He's
brutal,
blonde,
and he's
first of all.
blonde.
Yeah.
Why would Odd Job? How would he fit in facing off against that version of James Bond?
Because it would bring it back to what it was originally supposed to be. Weird, not more of like a supernatural feel. Like the guy's trying to, like what you're talking about is a good point. There's real story there. The guy's angry. There's a purpose. It's not just some guy trying to take over the world. But that, to me, that is what James Bond was. They're just evil. They're evil people that have a lot of money, that have crazy weapons. That you go to Bond film to see the car chases, to see. I don't know if story is necessarily important, so I just like to see more of the fantasy element. I don't think I ever will. Again, I think it's gone in the opposite direction.
Okay, one more question. What about Silva connected with you? Give me a little bit more about why Silva. You think he could come back? I mean, what would you think about him coming back again and facing Daniel Craig, since we've already seen him?
I mean, above the fact that it was Javier Bardem playing him, I just love his acting. It was that he was justified. Like, I understand this character. It wasn't like good guy, bad guy. It was good guy and guy that just needed retribution for what happened to him.
Right.
I can understand that. I can see if somebody put me in that position, like they just left me to die and I was horribly tortured, I would hate them. Like I would want to dismantle whatever created this horrible existence for me, more or less.
Right.
And I can't see any sort of...
He has hats.
I mean, if you're going with the whole
Projectile.
fantasy spectrum, it didn't really start off as super fantasy. It was really cool with the gadgets and everything, and that's what people wanted to see. But they had a storyline. Ian Fleming had an original storyline, and it made sense. The movies were the ones that became super fantasy.
Yeah.
But the villains, having a little more grounded villains, having Bond have fun, but the villains being grounded and bringing the story back to reality is something I really appreciate about the Daniel Craig series. Also, Timothy Dalton was blonde. He was awful, but he was blonde.
Timothy Dalton was blonde?
Yes, he was.
Connery
No, he
is James
wasn't.
Bond.
Timothy Dalton wasn't blonde?
Yes, he was.
In the James Bond movies?
I am almost positive.
No, he wasn't.
I remember
No, he
watching it
wasn't.
and going, what?
Timothy Dalton
Like,
was not blonde in the James Bond. Maybe he's blonde in another movie, but he's a dark-haired man.
He had
Here's a
blonde
picture
hair.
of him right now.
I remember watching him and Benicio del Toro and
I
going,
see
no,
it now.
Benicio, no. Like
I
that type
think
of thing.
he was blonde. Was
I
he
have.
blonde?
Listen, man, I've seen like 2 James Bond movies. All right.
Okay. All right. Any last points on Odd Job for you?
No.
Okay. I think this one's pretty clear. I'm going to have to give it to Paul on this one.
I would too.
Paul gets the 3 points. Dave, I would like to see Odd Job come back, because he has been a character that's kind of like a long-lasting character, and he's been parodied in the Austin Powers movies and stuff too. So it would be cool to see him come back against Daniel Craig's more realistic James Bond.
We'll come over to my house
Shoot.
and play Nintendo 64.
All right.
We'll drink 40s like we did in the 90s.
Well, I wasn't, but yeah. All right, that sounds good. Paul, great points on how he's relatable in terms of there's a story behind him, and he was a really good villain. I agree with you. And Skyfall was fantastic. So Paul gets the 3 points on that. But fear not, Dave. We are moving on to round 2.
Not afraid.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay, time for round 2. This is our best/worst of round. I pick an actor or director, and you debaters pick and defend what their best or worst film is. Today we are asking, what is the worst Johnny Depp movie? We're going to start with Dave first. Go ahead.
Let me tell you about a movie called Alice in Wonderland. It was terrible. It's a remake.
Really? I didn't,
How are you going to be Gene Wilder Part 2? You know how Johnny Depp approaches it? Becomes Michael Jackson. That's what he got.
You're
You're thinking of
Charlie and the
Charlie and Chocolate
I'm sorry, not Alice in Wonderland.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Okay, sorry.
Which was,
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
I don't know what I was watching, but it was something. And I still want my money back. I do not like musicals. I'm not a big fan of movies necessarily from the era that the original was made. But there's something special about that movie that makes me forgive the music, makes me forget. And I'm a big Roald Dahl fan, you know. And when I saw this film and his butchering of the character, I normally don't mind Johnny Depp. I think, like, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, I thought he did a fantastic job. I mean, he went the extra mile. He hung out with Hunter Thompson.
All right, we'll come back to you, so we get the opening from Paul. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I agree. Both of those movies you mentioned were awful. My thing was Johnny Depp was actually, it's hard to find a movie, he's done bad movies, but he was good in all of them. Even Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, he did a good job because you can't create the same character. My problem, the movie that stands out to me as his worst movie was The Tourist. That movie was terrible. You saw their little plot twist coming at the very beginning of the movie, sitting there reading a book called The Double Identity. Come on.
I don't know what The Tourist is.
It's awful. Don't ever do that to yourself. Angelina Jolie is insufferable, as in she is in most things, besides Gone in 60 Seconds maybe. I hated this movie with a passion. And Johnny Depp, he did a good job, but the movie was unwatchable to me. It's very rare that I find movies he does that I just can't get through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, we go ahead and finish your thought there.
Yeah, I don't think that he particularly put a lot of thought into playing the lead character in something as strong as the film as Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I think that he just kind of showed up, he got paid, and he said, I'm going to do Michael Jackson. And that's going to be my go-to place. And I can't blame him for the film being terrible. I can blame Tim Burton as a director for remaking everything and remaking it awful. You know, I mean, everything that he's been doing now is a remake that's worse than the original, which I don't understand. But when I went through the catalog of Johnny Depp films, that was the one that I remember seeing and just absolutely hating.
Okay.
His character in particular.
I got you. Paul, you in?
See, I disagree, only in the fact that I thought you can't do the same character somebody else did. It can be the same idea, but if he did exactly the same character, people would complain, oh, he just tried to be Gene Wilder. And the movie was so drastically different, the tone, the way the movie was shot, he couldn't do the same type of character. He probably looked at the color palette and just thought, you know, a little bit more melancholy of a character, because Gene Wilder was practically normal in that movie. But like you said, he reminded you of Michael Jackson. But when they make you pale white and give you the weird straight hair and everything,
his voice too, though.
His voice, yeah. But with my big thing was with The Tourist, there was nothing, no actual development of the movie. There was no part in the movie I was interested in. It wanted to be a spy thriller, and it was just boring. There was nothing of value in that movie. Even Johnny Depp, like, he was funny. He had moments where he made you laugh, but the second he stopped talking, you just wanted to turn the movie off or do something better with your life.
Right. Okay. Give me a little bit more about the actual movie. Why don't you think Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is a good movie?
Because it is embedded in my mind that it is a remake. Even though it's a different take on a story that was written by Roald Dahl, it's a remake. In that case, I get that they were going for something different, but they did a lot of similarities too. And when you put in the same thing, because I don't even think Tim Burton could get away from the original, so he used some of the same things, like the TV part. If you look at Mike TV and the White Room, that is a blatant ripoff from the beginning. So if it was trying to be something different, it wouldn't have gone there. And I get that the character wasn't supposed to be Gene Wilder for many points, but I think he could have done a lot better with it. He didn't have to go in that particular direction. There's all kinds of different ways that he could have gone instead of this childlike, very quiet, creepy person. I think he runs a chocolate factory. He should be a little bit more whimsical and less creepy.
Right, I gotcha. Okay, so for you, I need you to give me a little bit more about Johnny Depp's performance in The Tourist, because you talked about the movie. Why is his performance not very good?
Okay. Again, my big thing wasn't his performance. I had to find a movie that I just thought was his worst particular movie.
Sure.
His performance in it wasn't exactly subpar, but it wasn't good either. It didn't really interest you more in his character. You didn't want to know more about his character. You're just kind of like, okay, he's in a really bad situation. It's not getting any better. I've seen this movie 15 times. What's going to be different with this movie? And then their plot twist happens, and he's actually the secret agent, and it's just, oh, that was stupid. That was dumb.
I understand. Okay, I'm going to wrap this round up. Really good points on those two, guys. I like that a lot. I'm going to give this one to Dave, I think.
Hey!
I would too.
Yeah. Not the fact that, trying to remake Charlie or Willy Wonka and the
Yeah.
Chocolate Factory with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is already a death sentence from the beginning, I
Yeah.
think. And then when you throw something so different, and it wasn't just different, it was, I hesitate to say disturbing, but it was off-putting.
Yeah.
It wasn't. You can never
It was
replace
Tim
Gene
Burton.
Wilder, right? Yeah, and just Johnny Depp in the role, I think that makes it more sort of on him than the Taurus had Angelina Jolie to also put some of the weight on. But I think all of that was on Tim Burton and Johnny Depp, and on screen, all you see is Johnny Depp. So
Yeah.
I'm going to give that to you, Dave. Good job.
Yeah, can you name anybody else that was in that film? Because I can't.
Helena Bonham Carter.
Okay.
She's in every Tim Burton movie. Okay, we're going to move on here, guys. Now it's time for round 3. This is our TV round. Topics here are related to television shows. Today, this is a fun one. We are recasting Fonzie from Happy Days with any actor from any era. We're going to start with Paul first. Go ahead.
Okay. This was actually a pretty easy one. Hearing it, just first person that pops in my mind is Charlie Sheen.
Okay.
And my reason being, because when I first saw Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and he shows up in the police department, the first thing, I'm like a little kid when I see it, I thought he was supposed to be Fonzie. I knew it wasn't the same actor, but I'm like, he's got the hair, he's got the laid-back personality, he's trying to be all cool. He looked like Fonzie. And the second I hear this, first person I picture is Charlie Sheen. Circa 1984, but...
Sober?
I said 1984, I didn't say sober.
Different things. Yeah.
These are two polar
Okay,
opposite
sorry.
ideas. But he, at that point in time, especially with the movie roles and everything else he was doing, he embodied Fonzie. I mean, maybe not later Fonzie, because later Fonzie got a little more
Henry
empathetic.
Winkler is amazing.
But
Yeah.
but he, he is. But Charlie Sheen isn't exactly an empathetic individual.
Oh, okay.
But seeing him as Fonzie, I could totally see him playing that character. Maybe at the
Okay.
beginning.
All right, we're going to go, Dave. Go ahead.
Well, I'm glad that you put a lot of thought into this because my answer is Don Rickles.
Explain why, Dave.
Let me explain why. I want to see something completely different. You're talking about the difference between Gene Wilder and Johnny Depp. Let's go different. Let's just put a wig on Don Rickles.
Old or young?
Old, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't even. That's the best part. We don't explain why he's there. We don't explain why he's trying to
Oh my
be young.
God.
We just have him sitting around, being Don Rickles, imitating Henry Winkler's The Fonz, and just let it happen. Nobody says anything about, wow, you look a lot different. Why are you 75 years old or 80 hanging out at this jukebox joint?
Okay.
That's what I'm bringing, Walter.
I
I'm
know,
sorry.
that's fine,
I
that's
apologize,
fine.
America, as well.
It's all right. Why would Charlie Sheen be a better Fonzie than the old man version of Don Rickles?
Well, other than the fact that I think Family Guy did that, but with Peter instead.
Oh, that's right. Go ahead.
Although yours is much funnier. Charlie Sheen, I mean, let's be realistic. Charlie Sheen would be a good fit for Fonzie.
Young Charlie Sheen.
That Charlie Sheen. He embodied Fonzie. Like, he looked like him, acted like him, had everything going for him. Versus Mr. Rickles, who I'm pretty sure even then was too old to play Fonzie's dad. Like, that's
Right.
significant.
He's going with a completely new
You
thing.
throw a wig on him, nobody knows what's going on.
Why do you think Charlie Sheen wouldn't fit?
Sober Charlie Sheen would fit. That I think.
The older version of Charlie Sheen?
I don't know. That I
'Cause when he's
think
younger, he
Paul
was
has
doing
a good
stuff.
point. If you're looking at somebody who looks like Henry Winkler, young Henry Winkler, that embodies the coolness, then I would say that Paul's absolutely right. But I don't know if you want something, that's like from Twilight Zone, almost something that I would want to watch. I never watched a lot of Happy Days. I don't know anybody that really did. You did?
He did.
Yes, I did. Nick and Night.
Really?
Laura and Shirley, Happy Days back to back all the time.
So I probably
Camille,
just,
Camille.
I should probably just concede that Paul has a better point than I do.
Okay,
and,
I'm going to agree with that. I'm going to give it to Paul here. So great
But-
job, Paul.
Don Rickles is still amazing.
He
I
is.
don't-
He is. But that was a good try. That was a different thing. Like, I like that.
Yeah.
That was
What would
kind
be
of cool.
better
but
is if
Charlie
they just
Sheen.
replaced Charlie Sheen with Don Rickles for like an episode,
Yeah.
but never said
Never
anything
said
about
Never
it.
said anything?
Just-
Well, they do like when you go to the theater, like tonight playing Fonz will be Don Rickles.
All right, guys, it's time for our final topic.
What do you
round.
want? And they just comes up and smacks you.
This is our pitch round. Here, our debaters create a story for a certain scenario. Today's scenario, Fantastic Four's reboot bombed, folks, at the box office. The question now becomes, will Fox give the rights back for those characters to Marvel Studios? And that's where all the Avengers and everyone else is crossing over. How would you bring the Fantastic Four into the Marvel Cinematic Universe? We're going to go with Dave first this time. Go ahead, Dave.
I would bring Oddjob and Don Rickles.
Sounds fun.
And Tim Burton.
I am not every time I'm on their show, I don't watch any of the same things that you watch. I don't enjoy the same things that you do, which makes me a great guest. No, but I thought about this one because from what I remember being young and reading Fantastic Four in comic books, was I always liked the character of Galactus because he was huge. And I think the problem is whenever Marvel bombs, or when a film bombs like as bad as this new Fantastic Four, they go to remake it. I wouldn't do that. I'd say, okay, let it live. Let the origin series live, because they always want to go back and re-show. Oh no, but then they were normal people and they became these superheroes. You don't show that. You let the origins video, even though it was awful, the movie, just let it live, and then you bring in a character like Galactus, a strong villain, and you make those characters who were that bad in the first film, you cast the same exact people, and you make them go through something tremendous in the next one.
All right, go ahead.
Two problems. One, they did that in the last series, and Galactus was a cloud. Two,
not Cloud Galactus.
Not Cloud Galactus.
Yeah.
Okay. Two, Fox, what they need to do is either give the rights back to Marvel so they can include it in the MCU, which is what everyone except for Fox wants, because they want to hold on to that property for dear life. Or two, exactly what you said. Just let it lie and move on. Because if we see another reboot, nobody's going to care.
Yep.
And the thing is, all the actors were really good. It was a really good, say the movie is an hour and 30 minutes. First hour and 25 minutes, really good. And then the last 5 minutes, it was like, okay, now they have their powers, we're done. Like, it was just one big fight, done. Yeah. And there was no payoff. It was too much waiting around for something to happen. And when it finally does happen, you could just see a shift. Like, the actors didn't care anymore. There's a whole bunch of problems on set. Right. It was too many surrounding issues for the movie to be successful.
But how would you bring them in the MCU?
How would I bring them into the MCU?
Yes.
If they were sold back to Marvel?
Yeah.
Okay. If I was bringing them back into the MCU, I would probably...
That was the question.
I apologize. I misunderstood the question.
Pardon me, Walter. I believe he said that he would do exactly what I would do.
He did.
Can we get playback? Slow motion instant replay?
I misunderstood. I thought it was how to make it more...
how you would bring them in. So Dave's saying, basically incorporate that series that's happening now into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Would you redo that completely, or what would you do with it?
If that's the case, I would No, I wouldn't redo it. I would just do World War Hulk. Because the second they introduce Reed Richards, because Reed Richards ships him off, like that would be such an interesting story to pull them into. And then now you have Hulk coming back, ready to kill anything and everything, and heading straight for Reed Richards. I mean, that would be a really interesting story to see.
And you can incorporate the Hulk into another movie besides Avengers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I think that would be probably the most interesting thing that we haven't seen 15 times, maybe like in a cartoon or something.
Okay. So Dave, you're saying, like you're both saying, to leave the same characters, the same same world, and bring them in, just bring them to the MCU. Differences here, you're saying World War Hulk, which is a very well-known comic book storyline. You're saying bring in Galactus, which is a very well-known villain.
And have the completely skip over the origins again.
Right, I got you.
We're going to keep making that same origin.
Would you want like a crossover like World Hulk, or would you want them to live in that same universe? But not have as many like crossovers? He's saying World War Hulk, that's going to bring in a whole bunch of other characters.
No.
You want that to be sort of in the same universe but isolated.
I want it to be isolated. I want if I was a producer at the studio, I would say bring in a different director, someone who can actually doesn't isolate themselves like they were talking about him on set, and work on writing. Write a better story. Make the characters actually go through something. You don't need 8 million different characters to show the Fantastic Four. You need the Fantastic Four and one good villain.
Right.
That's it.
Okay. Why would Planet Hulk beat out just a good Galactic story?
Okay. Again, it's already been done, and it's been done poorly, and that's going to sit with people. Okay, we've seen this. Why are we doing this again? With World War Hulk, it brings in other characters. The problem is, in the 60s, they were these big, fantastic characters. Oh my God, they have all these abilities. They can turn invisible. He's made of rock. They seemed amazing. Now they're mediocre at best.
Unfantastic.
They're very unfantastic. They can't really hold their own as far as their powers go. It's not as interesting as it used to be because there's so many big characters out there. When they do their team ups, when they do any when they are added to any other storylines, their actual persona outside of their powers, when that stands out, when with their abilities, with Johnny Storm's abilities, with Reed Richards' intelligence, you see them for who they are, not just their powers. That's when they're actually interesting. Their powers really, he's on fire.
Right. It's more about the characters. Okay, we got to wrap this up. We're trying to keep this on time. Sorry you misunderstood.
I apologize.
I thought it was worded pretty clearly how you would bring them into the Marvel Cinematic
Home
Universe.
run.
I don't know how.
But I got to give it to Dave on that.
Home run.
I have to. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
But you did good points, though, about bringing Galactus and keeping it isolated because Marvel sometimes, I think maybe that's why Ant-Man was pretty good because they kind of kept him isolated.
Superman is now, or Spider-Man is now a genre film. That's how many times they've which Spider-Man movie?
You're right. But you're saying you both said keep the same characters in the world. So, and I did like the actors in that too. So, okay, guys, now are you ready?
For what?
It's now time for the lightning round.
And then
Just got hit by lightning.
they do this thing. You'll see it.
It just happened now. What are you talking about?
It happens.
Yes, it happened right now. Okay, here the debaters will be asked a series of movie trivia questions worth 1 point each. Each of you will individually have 2 minutes to answer as many of the 15 questions we have prepared for you as possible. If you don't know an answer, you can pass at any time, but please note you cannot go back around to a question you passed on. Okay? All right, so it is 6-6. We are tied up exactly, guys. I'm going to go with Paul first here. And we're going to get the timer loaded up. You ready?
Yes, sir.
2 minutes, and answer as much as you can.
Yes, sir.
Okay, here we go. And we are going. Widely praised for starting the reboot trend in Hollywood, what year did Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins hit theaters?
2005.
Correct. The musical Jersey Boys tells the story of what singer and his musical group?
Johnny Vallo?
Frankie Vallo in the Four Seasons.
I'm sorry, yeah.
What was the title of the 2006 Superman movie starring Brandon Routh as the Man of Steel?
Superman Returns.
Correct. In the film Rain Man, Dustin Hoffman played a man with what disorder?
I can't think of the term. Pass.
Okay. In 1939's The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy wore what colored slippers?
Red.
Correct, ruby red. What popular animated character made his debut in the 1928 short film Steamboat Willie?
Say Steamboat Willie.
Mickey Mouse. Who directed 2009's Avatar?
James Cameron.
Correct. What year were the James Bond films Octopussy and Never Say Never Again released?
69?
83. Who's the younger sister of Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen and has starred in movies such as Godzilla and Avengers: Age of Ultron?
Mary-Kate, Ashley Olsen, and... I don't remember her name. I'm sorry. Pass.
Elizabeth Olsen.
Elizabeth.
What was the name of the director, Ridley Scott's brother, who also directed movies like Top Gun and Crimson Tide?
Tony.
Tony Scott? Yes, that's correct. What is the highest grossing film of 2014 at the worldwide box office?
2014.
30 seconds.
Nothing. Pass.
That's Transformers: Age of Extinction. What is the alternate title to the 2001 film Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone?
Pass.
Which actress plays the main female hero in the 1985 action movie Red Sonja? 15 seconds.
Pass.
Name the movie from its main character, Charles Foster Kane.
Citizen Kane?
Correct. Name 3 actors who have played a live-action version of The Incredible Hulk. 5 seconds.
Edward Norton, Eric Bana, and...
Time's up. I'm sorry.
I couldn't think of his name!
No.
I'm sorry.
I couldn't think of his name. I don't know why.
I'm sorry. We can't give that
Purple
one to
Pants.
you. Mr. Purple Pants. Okay, so, Paul, let me tally up your
Don't
points
worry,
here.
Paul. I'm terrible at this.
I can't believe the answers I
You
got
got
wrong.
6 right, so you have 12 right now.
Okay.
Dave, you need 7. Can you do it?
No.
Well, we're going to find out right now. You ready?
Yes.
Here we go. And we're starting. Which war is the central conflict in 2002's Behind Enemy Lines?
World War I.
Bosnian War. Which actor played and voiced Yoda in the Star Wars movies?
Pass.
Frank Oz. Which actor plays the role of wheelchair-bound photographer L.B. Jeff Jeffries in Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window?
Jimmy Stewart.
Correct. Who voiced the parrot Iago in 1992's animated Aladdin film?
Johnny Depp.
Gilbert Godfrey. What was the name of the actor Michael J. Fox replaced 4 weeks into shooting the original Back to the Future film?
Oh boy, Tom Cruise.
Eric Stoltz. What movie studio uses a roaring lion as its visual
MGM.
logo? Correct. At the end of the film The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy clicks her heels together and recites what 5-word phrase?
There's no place like home.
Correct. What was Pixar's second feature film?
I pass.
What actor is famous for playing Dracula in the Hammer film series?
Bela Lugosi.
Christopher Lee. What political group was the Von Trapp family on the run from at the end of The Sound of Music?
The Nazis.
Correct. On what holiday did the Rocky Balboa versus Apollo Creed rematch in Rocky II take place?
4th of July.
Thanksgiving. What movie or what woman in 2010 made history as the first female director to win the Academy Award for Best Director?
Oh, it was The Hurt Locker, but I can't remember who it was.
You pass?
Yeah.
Okay. What 2011 movie told the story of the Oakland A's manager who used computer-generated statistics to build a successful team?
No, I don't know.
Name one actor who completed Heath Ledger's character scenes in The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
I have no idea.
You want to take a guess?
Harrison Ford.
Correct. So, did you not get another one there? You wanted the last one. What religious artifact was Indiana Jones searching for in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade?
The Holy Grail.
You would have 11 there. So it was either Johnny Depp, Jude Law, or Colin Farrell.
Oh.
One of those 3. But you lost by 1, Dave. You had 11 points.
Here, I did this.
Oh, wow. Can we show this? Go ahead. Cut to Dave's camera. Go ahead. Show it to your camera. That's me, guys. That's me.
I'm going to burn this when I get home.
Okay. Guys, that was really close. 11 to 12. Really good debates. Yes.
Nice working with you, Paul.
Yes. Thank you for coming on the show, guys. Hope you have you back very soon. Paul, great job. Dave, great job as always. Be on the lookout for more real debates and episodes of Real Reviews in the coming weeks. Be sure to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember, if it's not debated here, it just isn't real. I'm Walter Benaziak, and until next time, keep your great debate alive.